What's up, y'all? Gonna do some JavaScript theory. Um, y'all can join the Discord too. There's a lot of people in the Discord. Uh, what's up, God Talks official? What's good? How you doing? Hope you're doing great, man. Hope your day's going wonderful. What's up, T4? What's up? Please, somebody explain. Please, somebody explain to me. Freaking 6-7. What does that even mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? Today we are gonna study. Study, study, study. That's all we do is study. Got our study stream. It means nothing. That's why it's pretty funny. Oh. Oh. I didn't know that. That's a okay. Hmm. Ugh. Alright. So now what we're gonna do is y'all wanna come into the Discord. The Discord is popping. They got people in the Discord. Both of my mods are there. Wealth and Acryli are our mods. They do great work. We got people there. So if y'all want to join, I'll give y'all the link. Oh, I didn't know I could send emotes. Oh, here's the emote. Well, duh. I know I can send emotes, but I didn't know it was going to pop up like that. That's cool. All right. So now what we're going to do today. Number one, I need to redo this. I need to redo this roadmap. I'm late on redoing my roadmap because I realized that, you know, I don't know, man. Um, Second, let's see, what am I going to do? I am going to, we're going to open up JavaScript Sandbox. Where are we? File, open recent, JavaScript Sandbox. All right, let's see what we're doing today. Let's cross this out. We already finished that yesterday. We finished this yesterday. And we finished this yesterday. So what we're going to do now is, what's up, Suhai? What's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. So let's just go ahead and open this up real fast. All right. Actually, I need to get more comfy. Hold on. All right, that's way better. Uh, oh, all right. Man, oh man. I don't know what I was thinking. Vibing in the robe is way better than anything else. All right. So let's see. I think I'm learning. Okay, we're doing new because yesterday we did sets. So this is my okay. So I don't know if y'all know, but this is the theory stream. So we do theory on the first stream of the day, and then we build projects on the second stream of the day. So right now we're doing some theory. Is the sound okay? Sound is good. Y'all good? Let me know if I need to fix the sound. All right. So yesterday was we practiced sets. Okay, cool. Yesterday we practiced sets on the theory stream. So we learned how to do sets a little bit. I haven't practiced it as much, but now the videos we're probably gonna watch is we're gonna do how to new operations to make sets useful, and then map fundamentals, map iteration, stuff like that. So I'm slowly moving through the course, a little bit every day, a little bit every day. All right, how many total until we get to the end? 331. Let's see, 331. That's 209. So that's 209. Month and a half, 30, 44 divided by. Damn, I had to do 4 a day. That's crazy. That's not bad, but that's not. All right. It's kind of hard to absorb all that knowledge at one time. All right.
So until ES 2025,
Oh,
sets only had the four methods that we
what's up, Jai?
pass, add, delete, and clear. So sets weren't really that useful, and actually I never really used them personally for anything. But now that's changing, because in ES 2025, sets got 7 more methods, which makes them a lot more useful, especially when used together with arrays. Also, these new methods bring sets more on par with sets in other programming languages, where they're actually an important data structure. So let's briefly now look at some of these new methods in this lecture. Now for the demo in this video, we're actually going to use 2 data structures that were present in your starter code. So we can find them up here. So these Italian foods and the Mexican foods. So just go to your starter files and grab them from there. And maybe if they were not there yet, you can just download the starter files again, or as an alternative, you can also just copy these few lines here by hand. So I'm just going to grab them and paste them here, because these are the sets on which we'll now experiment with these new methods.
Let me just copy these sets. So dude created
first off, let's say that we have an application that contains these foods, so some Italian foods and some Mexican foods. And then in that application, we needed to find out which ingredients are present in both of the Italian and Mexican cuisine. So just by looking at this here, basically by just reading the code, we see that tomatoes, for example, is present here and here. So both in Italy and in Mexico, tomatoes are part of the common cuisine. And the same is true, for example, here for garlic. So this is how we could see it manually, basically. But of course, we want a programmatic way of finding these common elements into sets, or maybe into arrays. And so let's now use the first new method, which is the intersection method.
Oh, don't tell me you can check between you can check if two sets have the same thing. I wish they did that with arrays.
So let's create a new variable here called common foods, and then let's use the Italian foods, and on this one we call the intersection
What the hell?
method. And then in here we pass the other set. So that's Mexican foods in this case. So basically what this will do is to find, again, the intersection between this set and this set. And we could also have specified them here in the other order. So we could have called Mexican foods dot intersection and then pass in the Italian foods. So the order here really doesn't matter. So the result of the intersection method is a new set which will contain only the elements that are present in both of the sets. So again, that's going to be here tomatoes, garlic, and maybe some other ones. So let's see what we got. Console.log, and then I will again log two things here. So intersection, basically using this here as a label, so that later we know what is what actually in our output. And then here our common foods. And so, beautiful. Here is that set with the tomatoes and the garlic. So exactly the two ingredients that we had already identified. Now what if we wanted an array of this? Well, that's pretty easy as well, because we already learned about the spread operator. So we can just create a brand new array like this. And so, beautiful. Here is that set with the tomatoes and the garlic. So exactly the two ingredients that we had already identified. Now what if we wanted an array of...
Well, we can print out each set, right? So I can do common. Hold on. I can do I can do a for of on a set, right? Hold on, let me make sure. Okay, yeah. So I can iterate over a set.
this? Well, that's pretty easy as well, because we already learned about the spread operator. So we can just create a brand new array like this, and then we spread all of the elements of the set like this into that new array. And so then we get exactly that.
So we can spread. Hold on, what?
So an array of tomatoes and garlic. So in fact, this is a...
Oh, well then I can say, can I say const same foods equal Italian foods dot intersection with Mexican foods. And then I can CLG same foods. All right. All right, cool, cool.
Extremely useful when working with arrays, which is a way more common data structure.
All right.
And sets. So many times in our applications, we are working with arrays, not with sets. But as you already know, you can easily convert arrays to sets and sets to arrays. So finding the elements that are common in two arrays is actually a pretty common task. And so before these new set operations were added to the language, we had to build our custom solutions with something like a filter method or something like that. But now we
Yeah.
can simply use the intersection method like this. All we would have to do if we have some arrays would be to convert them to a new set like we have here. So this is actually exactly what I'm just talking about. So these are arrays and they have been converted to a set just by calling new set like this. So just as we learned also, or as we did in the
Well, there's other ways to create a set, right? No, that's the only way to create a set. Just put an array inside of it.
previous lecture down here, right? So pretty useful. And the same is true for our next method, which is the union method. So this one will give us all the elements that are present in either of the sets, or in other words, all the elements of both sets, but without any duplicates, of course. So let's
Interesting. So we got the union method. Set dot union. I'm assuming you insert set here. I'm assuming it returns a set containing both elements in both sets with no duplicates.
create a new variable here, Italian and Mexican. And let's call this one fusion, because basically that's exactly
Okay, okay. All right, that's cool.
what this one here does. We'll just basically combine everything into one set, but again without any duplicates. So here we can again do Italian foods dot union and then pass in the Mexican foods, but it could also be the other way around. Just one thing that I didn't mention earlier is that you need a pretty up-to-date browser for this to work, because these new methods here, as I mentioned earlier, are part of ES 2025. So at the time,
Oh, these are ES20. So I could say const food fusions equal, put that in an array and say Italian foods dot union. No, that's why it's not auto completing. Dot union. Uh, mm, All right.
I'm recording this, only the latest versions of browsers will actually support this method here. All right, and so log this to the console as always. This time we have a union and then Italian Mexican fusion. And indeed, now we get everything here. But of course, tomatoes is only present once, and also garlic, because remember how sets are unique. So all the elements in there must be unique. Now in this case, there would actually be another way of achieving this, and maybe you want to try this as a challenge, but you also don't have to. So if all you want to do is to combine two arrays and then get their unique values, which basically is what this is, so that's what the union does, we can do it in another way. We can just create a brand new array and then spread both of these arrays in there. So as we also already learned a bit earlier. So the Italian foods and then the Mexican foods also spread out like this. And I will just log it to the console here, just to show you that this isn't perfect yet.
But it'll have duplicates.
Now we have the duplicates. So remember how tomatoes and garlic are present in both the cuisines, and so now it's here and here's tomatoes and garlic again. And so if we wanted the same result as before, we would have to actually create a set out of this. So new set, and there we go. So
Oh, wow.
same as here. And if we wanted an array out of this, so basically converting it back to an array, we could just do what we did up here. Basically creating a new array and then spreading the result. This is starting to look a little bit confusing, but it's going to work just fine. So now it has 10
Hold on. I didn't know I could do that. Okay.
elements, this array here, just like the set earlier. And we could then create a nice function for this if we needed to do this operation over and over again, instead of always having to type this code. All right. So this method is not the most useful one, but the next one is again a bit more useful, which is the difference method. So the difference method gives us a new set which will contain all the elements that are present in the first set, but not in the second one.
Present in the first one. What? That are present in the first one, but not in the second one.
So basically, this gives us all the elements that are unique in the first set. And so here now the order in...
Okay, so it gives us, oh, the ones that are not in the second set. Okay, so that makes sense. So let me... I'm assuming it's set that difference.
We specify the sets here and here will actually matter. So let's do unique Italian foods. And so here, Italian foods dot different.
Okay, difference. Insert set here. And that will, that returns values that are only in the first set. That are uniquely. What's up, Laser? Returns values that are uniquely in the first set. Okay, sets are pretty cool. So if I said const uniquely Italian equals Italian foods dot difference Mexican foods. Then I did a CLG of uniquely Italian. Pasta, gnocchi, olive, basil. I'm glad you're doing good, man. We're just practicing. We're just learning about sets. We're working through that JavaScript course. Trying to do it every day. Working through this JavaScript course. If y'all new here, make sure y'all subscribe. Right now, what we're doing is we're going through the JavaScript. We're going through a JavaScript course on our first stream, and then on the second stream, we build a project. So if y'all want to know what course I'm using, it's the Complete JavaScript Course 2025 from Zero to Expert by Jonas Smetman. I highly recommend it. If y'all look at my past streams, the reason I know JavaScript like that is because of that course. Just make sure if you get the course, you do it at like 1.5 plus speed.
And then the Mexican foods. So console.log difference Italian, and then here the unique Italian foods. And let's see, that's the pasta, gnocchi, olive oil, and basil. So it makes sense that these are basically all the ingredients, all these 6, except for the ones that are common.
You want a course link? Hold on. I think this is it. That's a long URL. I'm not about to say that's a long URL. Just go to it's this right here. All right. I hate long, ugly URLs.
Tomatoes and garlic. So, therefore, those are the ones that do not appear in the Italian foods here after the difference operation.
All right, cool.
Basically, this removes the elements that are common from this Italian foods set. And by the way, if you know anything about mathematics, all these operations also exist in mathematical sets. So maybe you have already worked with these, maybe in high school or something like that. And so then maybe all this is already a bit more familiar to you. So in any case, we can now do the same, but with the Mexican foods, because this time this will give us a different result. So
Okay, so then we can do const uniquely Mexican. Thanks, Satoshi. All right. So we got so we got the uniquely Italian Charles King who sit down and use the keyboard. All good. Pasta, gnocchi, olive oil, basil, tortillas, bean rice, avocado. So these are the uniquely Italian and uniquely Mexican, and that's what the difference method does for these sets. All right, let's move on. So we did the intersection method, returns a set containing the elements contained in both sets. I am not a genius. Inside of Poochie's girlfriend, keep going. Oh, okay. You're funny. I will not. Intersection method. Set dot intersection insert set here returns a set containing the elements contained in both sets. Union method. Set dot union returns a set containing elements in both sets with no duplicates. Returns values that are uniquely in the first set. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know I usually don't respond to this, but talk to text. I wouldn't be able to talk to text all the time because I have TMJ. So sometimes during streams, my jaw begins to hurt. So for people like me, talk to text would not be what we want. So, but I appreciate it. Like literally right now, all of this feels fatigued. So, let's see. Want to see me in Silicon Valley? I appreciate it. That'd be cool. But I know, but yeah, I don't know if you're a company or whatever, but I think your talk to text AI is a cool idea for real. I like the idea of talk to text because they have older people who need like who need that. Anyway, let me continue.
As I mentioned earlier, now the order in which we use the sets here actually matters. So unique Mexican foods, we can do Mexican foods dot difference, and then the Italian foods. And as you can imagine, this will then once again give us all of the Mexican foods or ingredients, except for tomato and garlic. So difference, Mexican, unique Mexican foods, and indeed here are the other four, which are not tomato and garlic. So as I just mentioned a minute before, all of these operations are actually mathematical operations that exist in sets in mathematics. So we can also see this in some nice Venn diagrams. And so let's actually search for this here in the documentation. So MDN sets, and then let's say the difference we just worked with. And so this is the one here. And so here we have this nice diagram. So imagine that these are all the Mexican foods, and this one are all the Italian foods. These ones are the ones that are common. So this is the intersection. And so that means that tomatoes and garlic are right here. Then we have the union, which is all of this together, everything here. And then we have the difference, which in this case is only this. So all the foods that are only in the Mexican, but not in the Italian. Just like this. All right. And now next up we have a pretty similar method, which is called the symmetric difference. And this one will give us all the elements that are present in either set, but not in both. So basically this is the opposite of the intersection method. And if we think back to that Venn diagram that unfortunately I just closed, this will basically give us the part that is in the left circle plus the one that's in the right circle, but not intersecting. So it will give us the unique Italian foods plus the unique Mexican foods. So this is all starting to sound a bit abstract here, I guess, but there really is a use case in some situations and in some applications. For these operations.
I don't if Satoshi, go to the Discord, go to advice, and tell me what you think I should put on next, because I'm curious, because I wouldn't know how to approach that. So join the Discord, go to advice, and put it in the advice section.
So just to show you, let's call this one unique Italian and Mexican foods. And then here, once again, the order doesn't really matter. You can just say Italian foods dot symmetric difference. And these methods are so new that they are not even in the autocomplete in VS Code yet. But we can just type it out by hand. And so now log this one as well. So it's this huge one here. And so this should give us exactly these 8. So these 4s right here, plus these 4 of Mexico. All right. Now there are 3 more methods, but I'm not going to go really deep into these.
Hold on, what?
That we still have to look at are some methods that
I didn't even understand that method.
really matter. Abstract here, I guess. But was it of the intersection, just like this? Unfortunately, I just closed. This will basically give us the part that is in the left circle plus the one that's in the right circle, but not intersecting. So it will give us the unique Italian foods plus the unique Mexican foods. So this is all starting to sound a bit abstract here, I guess, but there really is a use case in some situations and in some applications for these operations. That's why they were added to the language.
All right. So this one, the uniquely, what is it called?
So just to show you, let's call this one unique Italian and
Satoshi, last week we did filter. We last week we were working on what, filter, reduce, map, sort. We did all of that. So last week was dedicated to like array practice. If you look back,
Mexican foods. And then here, once again, the order doesn't really matter. You can just say Italian foods dot symmetric difference. And these methods are so new that they are not even in the autocomplete in VS Code yet. But we can just type it out by hand. And so now log this one as well. So it's this huge one here. And so this should give us exactly these 8. So
what the hell is that? So this one is called symmetric difference method. Set dot symmetric symmetric difference, capital D. returns values that are unique to both sets. Does not return values that are similar. So we would do const uniquely Italian Mexican, and it would be Italian foods dot symmetric difference
So these fours right here plus these four of Mexico. All right. Now there are three more methods, but I'm not going to go really deep into these. So the three methods that we still have to look at are some methods that can be used to check whether one of the sets contains the other set. So these are called is subset of, is superset of, and is disjoint from. Now there is no need to waste too much time on all of these methods here, and so let's just use one of them, which we can use to check whether one set is completely different from another set. So this one is called the is disjoint from. So let's just do console.log without creating any variable. So Italian foods dot is disjoint from, and then Mexican foods. So again, this will check whether these sets are completely different, or in other words, if one set does not contain any elements of the other set. So in this case, they would be disjointed. Now, in this case, we already know that they have some elements in common, and so therefore we get false right here. But this is another nice method that we could nicely use with some arrays, and then in conjunction with, for example, an if statement or a ternary, or some situation where we need a Boolean value. And if you want, you can always go check out the documentation for is subset of or is superset of, which also will give us some Boolean value. But for now, let's wrap it up here and move on to our next data structure, which are maps.
Okay, finally we can leave sets alone. Sets are cool. I hope one day I can use them, but whatever. We're moving on to maps. Let's take a short break. All right, short break. Short break. How y'all doing? Hope y'all doing good. We are, if you're just coming in, we are learning. We're going through a JavaScript course. We're going through this JavaScript course. So now we're gonna do maps. Let me get something to snack on. Be right back. All right. All right. Got our little snack. Gonna take a little break. I don't think he was gonna teach stuff that brand new in this course. I think that union method is gonna come in handy because if I want to check if there are similar elements in an array, bam, union. Instead of having to, damn, that is so convenient. Instead of having to loop through each array, like you would need 2 for loops to check if elements were similar in each array. I think, or maybe one. No, no, two. So sets are really convenient. Hope y'all having a good Saturday. Cause I am. I didn't even start Tailwind. How about that? How about that? I didn't even start Tailwind. Me not doing Tailwind has people in their feelings. They're like, how could you? How dare you learn the fundamentals? How dare you learn? Peasant. Peasant. You're a peasant. Kristen Codes. How could you? You're horrible. Obviously, if you don't use, how are you doing, buddy? I'm doing good. How are you doing, Vinay? What's up? All right. We just studying? We're about to learn how to do maps. We're about to learn maps. Maps. All right, NATO. All right, let's do it. Let's start. Let's learn maps. I'm using this course, by the way. If y'all new here, make sure you subscribe and join the Discord. We have 2 streams a day. The first stream is the theory concept stream where we go through a course. The second stream of the day is building things. That's later in the evening, and it lasts literally probably lasts past midnight, where we're building stuff. All right.
So we learned about sets. Now it's time to learn about the other new JavaScript data structure, and that is maps. And let me start by telling you that maps are a lot more useful than sets. So what exactly is a map? Well, it's certainly not the same thing that we use in the real life to find our ways around. No, instead in JavaScript, a map is a data structure that we can use to map values to keys. So just like in objects, data is stored in key-value pairs in maps. Now the big difference between objects and maps is that in maps, the keys can have any type, and this can be huge. So in objects, the keys are basically always strings. But in maps, we can have any type of key. It could even be objects or arrays or other maps. So that can lead to some really great and advanced stuff. So let's create a restaurant map here. So I'm just calling it rest here. And so we again use the constructor just like we used for the set, but this one called map. And the easiest way to create a map is to actually create an empty map just like this without passing anything in. And then to fill up the map, we can use the set method. And then here we pass into arguments. The first is the key name. So let's call it name, and then the name of the restaurant itself. So Classico Italiano. And so you see that this set method is pretty similar to the add method that we had in sets. So both allow us to add a new element to the data structure. And remember that we can use any data type that we want. So let's say that the restaurant has 2 locations. So we can create a key with a number. It doesn't have to be a string. So let's say one is in Firenze, Italy, and the other one, so a number 2, is in Lisbon, Portugal. And calling the set method like this does not only update the map that it's called on, but it also returns the map. So let me show that to you here. Okay, so this is what the set looks like after adding this key number 2. So, Portugal. And calling the set method like this does not only update the map that it's called on, but it also returns the map. So let me show that to you here. Okay, so this is what the set looks like after adding this key number 2. So here we have the entries. The first is name, which is then mapped to Classico Italiano, and then the other 2 that we just added. Now, the fact that the set method actually returns the updated map allows us to chain the set method like this. So let's set.
Interesting. Interesting. I didn't even think about stuff like that. I didn't even think about the idea of returning things and then chaining different methods to them. That is something I need to investigate. All right, that's cool. What life advice you give to a 18-year-old broke student? Number one, you're a student, so you're doing well. You're learning something. You won't always be broke. Just keep your head down and keep studying and focus on your health and your mental health. Love will come, money will come. What you experience in your 20s, when you turn 30, it's not the end of the world. Okay? It's basically, honestly, when you turn 30 is when life truly begins to start. And you talk to most 30-year-olds and you'll see 30-something-year-olds and you'll see what I mean. So work, learn as much as you can because you'll get tired later. Focus on people that actually like you. Don't try to impress other people. Just be yourself. Ah, that is so generic. Be yourself. Oh my god. But yeah. And if you're here, I'm assuming you're coding, so why aren't you coding and stuff? You should be making shit. Start making stuff. That's really what it comes down to. Be a creator. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. Um,
Categories here.
okay, so we have the easiest way to create a map is live, laugh. You're funny. live, live, laugh, love, and code. Oh my god, that's so great. And then eat, and then have some pumpkin spice. Easiest way to create a map is to create an empty map. And so we created an empty map by doing like const test map equal new map. All right. You're 18, okay? People would kill and die to revert their age to 18 and do it all over again. Literally, they would kill legions. They would destroy. They would give up everything to be 18 again. Everything. They would they would give up everything to be 18 again and to start all over.
As an array, now we'll just grab that from up here. Okay, so once more, the value can be anything, and now I can just chain the next set on here. So I can now say open and set it to 11, and then again, I can chain the next one and say.
Okay, so we create a set and then we create we insert, we use map dot set, and in here use map dot set insert key insert value insert value. Oh, and I want to add something to that. I want to add something. You know what? No, I'll continue to study. Just think about what I just said. Use map.set. This will place a new key value pair in the set, and it returns the set, allowing chaining. No, it's not a set. This will place a new value pair in the map, and it returns the map, not the set. All right. And so we will do, like, let's say we'll do something like test map dot set, and then we'll say internet, because that's your name. We'll say internet, and we'll say I don't know, 6 7, since the kids like that. I just died a little bit on the inside. All right, so we got that one thing, and then we can do test. Oh, so we can chain that. Hold on. So whoa, 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 whoa. So could I do something like dot set? This is stupid. Dot set food, or I could basically say a food array and set it to a string, hamburger, and then return. No, my bad. Return CLG test map. Food is not defined. Okay, so food. My bad. I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. Ugh. So we got an array. Okay. All right, cool, cool, cool. So then we could even say test map dot set, and we could say name Chris, age 34, and we can say uh web developer. That is cool. So we can have an object. Oh, that's interesting. Look at that. That's cool. All right, let's continue.
close at 23. So let's save it, and this will then format this nicely. So again, calling the set method returns the updated map. And so all of this is now the updated map. And so we can call set again on that map. And we can continue this even further. So let's now actually even use booleans as the key here. And we can say that we want to map true to we are open. And then we can also set false to we are closed. And we will see in a minute how this can become useful. Okay. Now, in order to read data from a map, we use the get method. And so that get method is available on all the maps. And so all we need to do is to pass in the name of the key. So let's see it. Let's log this to the console actually. And let's just duplicate it here and also log true. And you see that the true key here is then mapped to we are open and named to Classico Italiano, of course.
Okay.
And here when we get
Okay, so let's go back. So we can then use map dot get insert key. This will return the value mapped to that key, right? Okay. Maps are interesting. Does it return? It just returns a value. Just returns the value, not the map. So then we could do test map dot get. Well, let's just say let x equal test map dot get, and then let's just say, oh, how would I hold on, what? How would I do that? Hold on, whoa. How would I get that? Undefined. So would I have to do name? Maybe it says name and age, like that. Huh. Would I really have to do? Interesting. Would I really have to do this? It says undefined. So how would I get it then? I built a coding platform. I want to beta test it. Any folks want to help out? All right. I wonder how would I return an object, the value from a map? Shit, how would I turn an array? How would I do that? I'm using a different object as the key. This is the object right here. So hold on. I don't want to move on until I know this. Undefined. Okay. How to get object JavaScript. Oh. 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 So because I didn't name it, I can't even get a reference to it. So it's just there. It's just there. I see. I see. That makes sense. Okay. All right. So can I do okay. All right. Hold up. Yeah, that was test map. Okay. So can I do get internet? Okay. All right. There we go. Okay, understood. Learning.
Elements, of course, the data type of the key matters. So if we try true the string, then that would be undefined. And if we try to retrieve 1 as a string, that would also be undefined. Because here we have 1 as a number as the key. And so with this, we will then get difference each other. Alright. Now just for fun, let's use the fact that we can have Boolean keys. So this true and false here, right? And we also have the open and the close time. So you see they are all kind of related. And so let's create something fun with this. So let's say we have some current time, and we could actually get the current time from JavaScript, but we don't know how yet. So let's just say it's 21 hours, so that's 9 p.m. And then we could do something really clever like this. So rest.get, and so when we pass in true, then we will get we are open. And when we pass in false, we will get we are closed. And so in order to get a correct string here according to the time, all we need to do is to compare the current time with these two open and close. Okay? So let's do that. We can say, or we can ask, is the time, so the current time, greater than rest.get open, and at the same time, is it below rest.get close? So basically here we are asking if the current time is between 23 and 11. And so this here is a true-false value, and this is a true-false value, so Boolean. And so the result of this AND operation will be either true or false. And then true or false will map to one of these values. So that's really clever, right? Let's log the result to the console, and let's check it out. And so at 21 hours, we are open. And that makes sense. It is between these two times. But if it was like 8 hours, then we are closed. Amazing. Now this is, as I said, pretty clever, but it's not really so readable. So don't overuse this kind of pattern, okay? This just really goes to show the power of having booleans as map keys. But anyway, let's now keep exploring the methods that are available on maps. So we already have methods to set and to get. Now we can also check if a map contains a certain key. So let's log to the console the result of calling the has method. So categories.
Okay.
And so this should be true. And it is indeed.
All right. So why don't we create a better map? A map with, let's not erase it, but we can create a better map. Let's say we have const let's say we have const, I don't know, user equals new map. And in that user, we have user dot set, and we will say name. Name is, we're going to name it after the last person who commented. The name is shooter, or I don't know, what is it? COD 5 shooter, COD 5 shooter. Um, we can keep setting things. So then we can do dot set age to he's 100 and he's 99 years old. He's old, he's dusty. And we can say premium true. He has a premium account. I said gold false. Oop. And I said let's say two-factor. Let's say two-factor is true. All right. So now AM here. I'm going to sleep. Good luck. Have a good night, man. I'll be up later on tonight. This is just the first theory stream, so I'll see you later. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. So we got const user equal new map, user name, da, 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 da. So now let's move on to our use map dot has. Map dot has. And I think we
Each true. Then we can also delete elements from the map and a certain key. So let's log to the console the result of calling the has method. So categories, and so this should be true, and it is indeed true. Then we can also delete elements from the map.
Okay, so the map dot has we insert key. This will return true or false if the key exists or not. So if we did console.log user dot has 21, we would get false. But if we did console.log user dot has gold, oh, that would also equal false. No, hold on, what? Oh yeah, no, that would be true because it does have gold. It has a, yeah, okay, there we go. I was thinking console.log user.get gold, which would be false, which would be the actual value. Actual value map contains, this is going to be true, this is going to be false. All right. Next.
And again, that happens based on the key. So rest.delete, and let's say that the second location should be closed now. So this one here, the one in list one. And so we take that key and delete it from the map. And as a result, that will then be gone here. So you see, no longer there. Now comparing this to objects, we can actually also delete properties from objects using something called the delete operator. And as a result, that will then be gone here. So you see, no longer there.
Hold on, which one did we delete?
Then we can also delete elements from the map, and again, that happens based on the key. So rest.delete, and let's say that the second location should be closed now. So this one here, the one in list
Oh, he set it up there.
one, and so we take that key and delete it from the map, and as a result, that will then be gone here.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically we don't hold the user's gold status anymore because we got rid of that. So we can use map.delete, insert key. This will delete the key value pair at key. I don't think it returns anything. So let's just do that, and then we're gonna do CLG map dot user dot delete gold. Does it return anything? Okay, so true. And then if we do CLG user, we get a map that does not contain. Oh, so it returns true or false. True if an element in the map existed and has been removed. False if the element does not exist. Okay. Returns true if the element exists and is removed, and false otherwise. All right.
So you see, no longer there. Now comparing this to objects, we can actually also delete properties from objects using something called the delete operator, but that's a really slow process, and usually it's not encouraged to do that. Here about the has method, actually objects do also have a method, which is called hasOwnProperty, but we're going to talk about that in the object-oriented programming section. All right. Next, maps also have the size property. So rest dot size, of course, and that should be 7, as we can see here. And yeah, so
Okay. All right. That's cool. That's cool. So maps. Use map.size this will return the amount of elements inside the amount of key value pairs within the map. So we would do CLG user dot size. Oops, did I do something wrong? Size is not a function.
it has 7 items, and then
Did we cover up user? Oh, it's not a, okay. Or we just do it like that? Okay.
to finish, we can also clear. So basically, remove all the elements from the map.
Okay. All right. And then we can use map.clear. This will remove all elements, all key value pairs from the map. When can you change a map to a set? And hold on, why would you do that? Um, got my burst at. So we would do. I wonder what happens if we do this. What does that do? Um, undefined. Oh, interesting. Let's not do that. All right.
Let's just put that here. And so now it's gone and it has a size of 0. Let's put that back. So as you can see here, there is some overlap in the way that we work with maps and sets. And that's because they were both introduced in ES6. And now just to finish, let me show you that we can, in fact, use arrays or objects as map keys. So let's here set something else. And so now as a key, I will use this array. And I will set it to test. Okay. And let's just put that actually here, so it's before the log, so we can take a look at it. And so here indeed we see this is now the key, this array. All right. But now to get the data based on that array, let me see how we could do that. So rest.get, and think about what we are doing here. Do you think that this will work? And actually we need to log it to console. But given what we learned in the previous section about how JavaScript works behind the scenes, especially primitives versus objects, do you think that this will now retrieve test? Well, let's see, and no, it did not. And the reason for that is that these two arrays are actually not the same object. So this array and this one, even though we wrote them in the same way, and so they have the same elements, they are not the same object in the heap. Okay? And the key here is exactly this object in memory, and not this one. And so this cannot work. In order to make it work, we would have to do this. Creating an array, 1, 2, and then we use that array. And then we also use the same array to read the value out of the map. So now it is going to work. Okay, because now, of course, these two refer to the same place in memory. Great, and so with this we proved that we can indeed use objects as map keys. And this can be very useful with DOM elements, which in fact are also nothing more than just a special type of object. Let's do that here as well. Let's do rest.set, and now as a key we will use document.querySelector, and then we're going to select this h1 element that we have here. So this is just an h1, so nothing fancy. And so the result of this will be an object. And so let's say that this is the heading. And now as we check it out here, you will see it is here indeed. So as I hover it, you can even see it here visible on the web page. You see that? The highlight up there? That exactly is the key of this map entry. Sounds crazy, but it is possible, and it can enable some advanced functionality. All right, so we learned here how to create maps and how to work with them. So this should be enough for one lecture. And so let's wrap up this one now and continue.
Hold on, what? So I could do. So I could do user.set document.get element by ID. What was this? The card container? Card container. And then I could say card container. Then I could CLG user. Interesting. So then how would I get that out?
We're learning about maps in the next one.
I would have to put a reference to. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, take a short break. Let me get some snacky snacks. Hold on. Take a little 5-minute break. What's up with y'all? What y'all doing? Messing with CSS? How the CSS going? Oh, y'all make sure y'all join the Discord. I'm gonna keep saying that because people need encouragement. Join the Discord. Subscribe. Join the journey. This Discord is a nice community. People are not assholes like in some other dev communities. There's people who actually will want to help you. Oh yeah, it is pretty fun just experimenting with animations and stuff. Yeah, it is super chill. And it is growing every day. I don't know what my neighbors are doing outside. Why are you looking at me like that? You want to get on camera? You want to get on camera? Mm-mm. No. Your doggy self. Doggy. Doggy self. Your doggy self. What is this? Switch to DOM tree view. I have never seen the DOM. What? Has this always been here? Anyway. One more minute and then we start again. Y'all got any questions for me? Anything y'all want to ask? Ask it now before I start my this is gonna be my what we're on right now. If y'all curious, what we've done, we did new operations to make sets useful. We did map fundamentals, and now we're doing map iteration. So maps are pretty cool. Maps are pretty cool. We love maps. Maps are great. Don't you just love learning new stuff? All right, let's get to studying again. Study buddy woody. All right.
So let's continue learning about math. So in the last video, we created an empty map and then added elements to it by using the set method, remember? However, there's actually another way of populating a new map without having to use the set method. And I prefer that because the set method is a bit cumbersome when there are a lot of values to set. So instead, we can create a new map like this. So I'm going to call this one question, because now we're implementing something like a quiz, so in a very simple way. So new map, and then here we can pass in an array. And this array itself will contain multiple arrays, and in each of these arrays, the first position is going to be the key, and the second position is going to be the value. So let's do that. So let's say question, and then what is the best programming language in the world? So this is basically the first entry of this question map. So before we would have used the set method, and then this as the first argument, and this as the second. But now we can simply specify this array of arrays in this way. Now, next up, I want to specify the options for the answer, basically, and so I can simply do that by their number. So the first answer is going to be C, so C, the programming language. The second will be Java, and the third will be, of course, what else? JavaScript. Then we need a key for the correct answer, and what do you think the correct answer is? Of course, number 3. And then we can also have like a success message and an error message. And so let's again use the Boolean keys. So true, which is basically when the user is correct, then we can say correct. And maybe some kind of emoji here, like this one. But if it's wrong, so if the answer is false, then try again. All right. And so let's take a look. And that looks correct. Fantastic. So when creating a new map from scratch directly in the code, I actually prefer this way of writing it over the way that we did in the previous lecture. But when we keep adding new elements programmatically using code, then of course the set method is still the way to go. Now, as an aside, does this kind of structure here, so this array of arrays, look kind of similar to you? Well, I hope it does, because this is exactly the same array structure that is returned from calling object.entries. So for example, on the opening hours object. And so you see that there too we get an array of arrays, where the first element is the key and the second one is the value. And so what this means is that there is an easy way to convert from objects to maps. So let me write that here actually. Convert object to map. And so we can say hours map is a new map, and then simply with object.entries of opening hours. So again, because this structure that results from object.entries is exactly the same as this. So an array of arrays. So indeed, now we have a map here. And so keep this small trick here in mind whenever you need a map when you already have an object. Next up, let's talk about iteration. And iteration is possible on maps because, as we already know, maps are also iterables. And so the for loop is also available for them. And so let's use a for loop actually to now print just these options here to the console. So these 3, all right? So as always, I like to start with first saying what we will loop over. And so that's going to be the question map. And so each item of the question will, just like before, contain both the key and the value. And so here I can now directly destructure that into 2 separate variables. So this is a really, really good use case of destructuring. All right? So just to reiterate, this is exactly the same as we did when we looped over the object. The only difference is that for the object, we needed object.entries right here. And that's just because the object is not an iterable. But then we converted it to an iterable using object.entries. And so then this part here is exactly the same. Okay, now keep in mind, we only want to print these 3. So essentially, we only want to print an element if the key is a number. So let's use what we already know. Type of key equal number. And only then log the console inside here. Answer, and then a key. So the number for the person then to choose with the correct value, which is going to be the answer up.
Okay, so let's go over this. So we iterating.
you need a map when you already have an object. Next up, let's talk about iteration. And iteration is possible on maps because, as we already know, maps are also iterables, and so the for loop is also available for them. And so let's use a for loop actually to now print just these options here to the console. So these three, all right? So as always, I like to start with first.
Well, first, let's go ahead and convert object to map. Different way of creating a map so we can have, let's say, const numbers equal new, hold on, how did he do it? Yeah, equal new map. And then inside there we have maps or arrays. So we would do, let's say 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. All right. Another day, another dollar. What's up, David? CLG numbers. Okay, so we got our map. But then he was saying that we can convert how to, so let's say convert object to map. Let's say we had a test object and we said const people can we convert a map into an object, or is it always in? No, I think it's only one way. So const person equals, we got name, Chris, age 34, country USA, state Texas. All right. And if we wanted to see, we do object dot entries person, which is the same structure as this. So then we could say convert object to map const person map equal person equal new map object dot entries person. And we'll CLG person. Yeah. All right. And then it's saying that we can iterate over that.
Or you need a map when you already have an object. Next up, let's talk about iteration. And iteration is possible on maps because, as we already know, maps are also iterables. And so the for loop is also available for them. And so let's use a for loop actually to now print just these options here to the console.
So why don't we print numbers? So we're gonna say for of const number of numbers CLG number. So number is an array. So what we can do is we can come over here and we can say number name, and we can say number is called number name.
So these three, all right? So as always, I like to start with first saying what we will loop over. And so that's going to be the question map. And so each item of the question will, just like before, contain both the key and the value. And so here I can now directly destructure that into two separate variables. So this is a really, really good use case of destructuring. All right? So just to reiterate, this is exactly the same as we did when we looped over the object. The only difference is that for the object, we needed object.entries right here. And that's just because the object is not an iterable. But then we converted it to an iterable using object.entries. And so then this part here is exactly the same. Okay, now keep in mind, we only want to print these three. So essentially,
What's up,
we only
Ado?
want to print an element if the key is a number. So let's use what we already know. Type of key equal number. And only then log to the console. So inside here, answer, and then the key. So the number for the person then to choose with the correct value, which is going to be the answer option itself. So here we go. Enter 1, 2, 3. And now let's just also log the question itself. So quiz app. And here we want question.get, remember, and then the question key. And so now it is complete with question and answers. Now to get the answer from the user, let's again use a prompt. So answer equal prompt, and let's ask for your answer. And answer. And remember, we need to convert this now to a number, because eventually we will compare this number with the key that we have here. All right. Let's just print it and also. Okay, so here we have the question, and of course the correct answer is number 3. And so here we
Oh, this is a study session.
go. And now we can use the power of the Boolean keys here in order to print either the success message here or the error message, basically. All right. So do you think you can do that on your own? Just take a minute or two and try that on your own right now. So did you manage to do that? Well, let's start by comparing the answer with the correct answer, basically. So that is question dot get correct, and so this is 3, right? And then we can compare that to the answer. So in this case, this was also 3, and so this here would return true, correct? And now since this is true, we can directly plug that into the map, and so this true will then return correct. So that's similar to what we did in the previous video as well. And so again, we are using the power of having Boolean values as keys. And then let's just log that final message to the console. So 3 again. Oh, and something went wrong. But I see that it's just here. It's the name. So this is correct, not correct. So again, 3. And now indeed we get correct. Okay. So this is 3 here. The answer is 3. This is 3. And so this here will be true. And so when we get true from the map, we get this string. Well, something else. And indeed, we get try again. Okay, and with that, we finished this nice little quiz. Now, just to finish here, as a side note, sometimes we also need to convert a map back to an array. So basically to this structure. And we can do that like this. So convert map to array, basically. You can do that by simply building a new array and then unpacking, again using the spread operator, the question map. It's asking us here again. And so then the result is essentially this same data structure, so the array of arrays with which we started. So it's this one here. So in this case, of course, this wouldn't make too much sense, but it's still good to know that sometimes you can convert a map to an array. Let's just preset this here to some value so that it doesn't always bug us here. And by the way, there are also the methods that we had on arrays, which are the entries and also keys and values in case that you need them. Okay, now they give us this weird iterator here, so then just as I showed you before, you have to spread them and put them in a new array. So like this. But this is not really that important. I just wanted to show you that this exists. And for this, there's actually no need, because it's going to be exactly the same as this one. Okay, so these are all the keys and all the values indeed. All right, and that's all I have.
All right. Now let's do some cleanup on the GitHub. Finish with the study, and I'm gonna spend the next 14 minutes looking at this. Probably cleaning up some stuff on my GitHub. All right, let's see. If y'all are here, make sure y'all subscribe. Oh my god, subscribe. It's so wonderful to subscribe. It really, truly is. Square. All right, let's see. I did not add a readme to this. That's not good. So let me just add that to the list. Let's see. Blog. Preview. Card. Recipe page. Oh. Okay. Oh, what? Okay, blog preview. Oh. Product. You said, "Do I hear you?" You up? So you got a hackathon? I don't do hacking. I'm not in cybersecurity. Well, oh, okay. No, I'm good, brother, but I appreciate you. What type of advice are you asking for? Oh, I don't know. I don't do AI. No problem. Oh no, that's already updated, right? Yeah, yeah. All right. I have made a list for myself of things I need to update on my Discord. I'll be, instead of 2 streams tomorrow, I'll do 1 stream, and I'll be doing this in the afternoon. That is the end of our study session stream. Please, if you like this, please like this. If you would like to join our Discord, please join our Discord. The VC is becoming way more active, and you can subscribe if you want to. It's up to you. It's a free country. Thank you. Thank you. W study session. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. We'll be on in the evening time to do a coding session. All right. Bye-bye.